What's going on? Charles Boatenston here, Boatenston Properties International, here based in New York City, Manhattan. Ooh, I just dropped my battery on my phone. Good thing it's made out of titanium steel. Anyway, just wanted to obviously go over podcast number two. This is going to be a weekly thing that essentially, I guess a couple of people have asked, like why even do this? Why are you providing value to, say, other agents? And it's actually one of the things that when I first started out in the industry, 2009, early 2009, middle of the recession, and, we really had to hustle for business. And, I was downtown at a small firm. I wasn't really trained that much. And one of the biggest things that I noticed is that there wasn't really good information out there. Like, no one, like, yeah, there was some books, but when someone first starts out in real estate, they're like, Charles, what book do I read? And to be honest, there's really not a book out there that I'm like, you have to read this immediately. Yes, you have the One Thing by Gary Keller, and then obviously he has the $1 Million Agent. And there's Luxury Homes by this guy up in Cape Cod. He wrote a book. You know, I think Barbara Corcoran wrote a book, but there's no definitive New York City book. And there's really nothing else. There's no continuous line of books being produced, yet it is like there's how many agents are in New York City? How many agents are in the United States? It's like everyone knows an agent. Everyone, and if they don't know personally an agent, they so, through at least one social circle, they can find an agent. And if you can't, you go online. So there was plenty of agents, but there wasn't enough information. So really, the reason I'm doing this is because there needs to be better information out there. So what I do is I collect all this information. I then collate it and use it, don't use it, and kind of filter it down. And then that's what I really share on this podcast is, obviously if there's better agents out there, deals are going to get done. More deals are going to get done. Better deals are going to get done. Deals are going to get done easier if the agent is more informed, knowledgeable, and they're listening to this to become better. So I don't know where you're an agent, if you are an agent or a broker or whatever. I'm coming from the more, I read and I watch and I just learn. I'm a big student in life, if you even want to say that, kind of broad topic. However, today, what we're going to be talking about is systems, processes, routines, things like that, because that's the only way to have any kind of consistent business. We're in an industry that it's very easy to just not do anything. It's like we don't have a boss that's telling us we have to do this, we have to do that, we have to be on time. Don't eat this, go to the gym, say hi to there's no structure to real estate. Every single day, you're kind of creating. Every single day, you could create an amazing day, and then you stack that on top of each other to have an amazing week, and then weeks, months, years, decades, and then it's your career. So that's the thing is that this has to be seen. Gary Vaynerchuk is a big influence to me, and what he talks about is his legacy. Like this has to be your legacy. If you come in and you're like, I'm just going to dip my toe in the world of real estate, it's just not going to work out. Like you have to go full tilt and live this. Real estate is a lifestyle. It is something that you have to breathe every single day. Every person walking in New York or wherever you live, every person you pass in the mall, on the street, in the shopping center, Starbucks, whatever, at the gym, everywhere they have to be living somewhere. That they like unless they're homeless. It's like everyone is, even homeless people, everyone is living somewhere. Everyone is living somewhere. It could be a not so nice place, it could be a nice place, but everyone's go has to sleep at least for a couple hours every single night. Are you the agent that is there, and as I call it, their contact? Because that's the thing is that, a lot of agents, they feel that, someone contacts them and they say, Should I sell? Should I not sell? And then they don't end up selling. And then the agent says, well, that was a waste of my time. No, it wasn't, because they called you. You're on top of their mind. Do you understand how expensive that is if you are not on their time? I'm sorry, if you are not on top of their mind. If they go to you first for any type of, if they go to you at all, and they are not a friend, that's amazing, because that means they trust your opinion on refined construction, home design, whatever the case. Selling. Should I buy 1031? Should I rent? Whatever the case is. Like I just had a half an hour conversation 3 days ago with someone I went to high school with, and no business was going to come out of it. And I told him my honest opinion. I said, he's like, should I buy and then in 3 or 4 years sell and then move to the suburbs? I said, no, that's a terrible idea. I didn't say it like that, but I said, no, that's that. In other words, some agents, they have commission breath, and they said, yes, it's a great time to buy, and then you sell. That's two commissions for me. I said, no, this is what you need to do. You need to rent for 2 years, save up your money, stack some dough away, and then buy in the suburbs. There's no point in buying for 3 years, selling it, because especially in the current marketplace, is that the marketplace has been crushing for 7 years. Obviously, something's going to happen in the next, like couple of years, and I don't want him and his wife to be caught in that recession, and then now he's losing money on a purchase that he could have been gaining value. So you have to be in that trust came through when he said, I really do appreciate it. I really do appreciate it. You want to be top of mind. All right. So that was a huge tangent on being top of mind. However, let's go into systems and processes. Okay, so this is very important. This is probably a decade of knowledge being condensed into a paragraph. What you do in the morning is everything. It is your entire day. It is your entire evening. What you do at the beginning part of the day, the morning, when you first wake up, sets the tone for the entire day. If you don't do the beginning part of your day the way you should, and you do it the way that you want to do it, which is snooze the alarm, don't go to the gym, don't eat well, don't make sales calls, don't blah blah blah. Insert what you need to do. You go on social media, you check that, you see the news, you browse the newspaper, you have coffee, and you stay at home. And then listen, if you and this is it. Think of a great day that you had, and then think of a terrible day that you had. The terrible day probably was like this: you were a little hungover, or you were a little tired, or it was raining out, and you said, "You know what? I'm going to snooze my alarm. I'm going to wake up. I'm going to take a shower." But before you did, you snooze your alarm. You checked social media. You checked your email. You stayed in bed. Then when you finally got out of bed, there was nothing productive done. You didn't read, you didn't meditate, da, da, da. And I'm not saying like holistic like that. However, if Benjamin Franklin said, if you do tomorrow what you did today, you're going to have tomorrow what you had today. Listen, Benjamin Franklin, not only was he the first millionaire, he was kind of smart. The mail system, bifocal glasses, the Franklin stove, just endless inventions. So what he understood is that if you do tomorrow what you did today, you're going to have tomorrow what you have today. You're going to have exactly what you have today if you do the same thing that you did yesterday. So you have to change up your routine. Number one is you have to wake up early. And listen, this podcast is not for the average agent. The average agent is, so you have, this is the way that I look at it. In the course of a year, you have, say there's 100 agents, 100%, whatever you want to call it. Say there's 100% of all agents. 10%, the bottom 10% are going to fall out. They just started and they weren't doing good and blah, blah, blah. Then you have 80% of the agents who, and by the way, this is pretty much life. This is sports, this is business, this is businesses, this is services, this is anything. Pareto's principle said 80-20. To be honest, I think it's really 90-10 because in the global competition, the creme de la creme is getting all the business. They're getting the top 10% is getting everything. So going back to my example, 80% of people in real estate just do the exact same type of business, the same type of routines as they did last year, and they're fine with that. And this is the thing. I'm fine that they're fine so long as they are fine. In other words, if they complain about business, the marketplace, buyers, sellers, the amount of money they made, I don't even care. If they complain at all, they're putting their whole business externally. Listen, did he make any sales calls? Did you send any notes? Did you have a client appreciation party? Did you visit a client? Like, did you call for sale by owners? Did you call your referrals? What's your social media presence? Are you giving value? Are you giving content? Like, how are you blaming this externally? The buyer did this, the seller did this. Listen, when you have an abundance of business, you don't worry about one little problem because perfect. If someone says, listen, this agent is going to, or yeah, this company is going to do, or agent is going to do it at 4%. And you say, okay, fantastic. Work with them at 4%. I give way more value than that 2%, and I'm going to make that money up on the back end. In other words, when you sell at 3% less than I would get you, that's where all of my money is made. The transaction is going to be easier, blah, blah, blah. I don't need to talk about defending commission. However, 80% of the agents are going to make the exact same amount of money they did this year as they did last year, and they will next year. And they don't change up their routine. Like Benjamin Franklin said, you can even make this year over year. If you did last year what you're doing this year, you're going to have the same results. So really, this podcast is dialed into the 10%, the top 10% that want to improve little by little. Perfect example, Michael Phelps. Michael Phelps, every single day, wanted to get 1 second better on his time. 1 second better. I heard another story on this marathon runner. He was grossly overweight and decided to walk to the end. This is how he started. This is how he started. Walk to the end of the block, to the light post, and walk back. Then he walked to the end of the light post the following day, end of the light post, back, and then to the light post and back, blah, blah. And then he did it. First day was 1, second day was 2, third day was 3, fourth day, blah, blah, blah. And then he started saying, you know what, I'm going to jog, then I'm going to actually go further. That's how it's done. I know we want quantum leaps, but quantum leaps, the hockey stick curve, in other words, if you want to talk about the bell curve, which is, you start out and you're just compounding phone calls for, I just heard this great. If you're not already subscribed to Greg Harrelson, he's down in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and he had this very good example. Is that you're not going to see, say you start making sales calls, you're not going to see any results for 90 days. However, like I'm talking about the example, the 10% that are going to fall out, the 80% that give up or are going to do the same, it's the same thing here. If someone says by 90 days, if you make sales calls every single day for 90 days, you will have a plethora of business. 80% of the agents will give up. The 10% will believe, they'll have faith. And that's who, not only is that's who this podcast is for, but that's why you need to get a little bit better. So routines. Number 1 is you have to wake up early. Number 2 is your phone has to be on airplane mode. Otherwise, you received text, phone calls, notifications, little thing on notifications. The only notifications that you should actually have on your phone, number 1 is phone calls. Number 2 is text messages. That's it. Don't have Facebook, Instagram, don't have emails. I had, not to say anything, but I know so many people that have email notifications. Every email that comes into their phone has, not only does it has a sound, but it shows up on your home screen. Like, you're insane. Number 1, the reason that we do that is we don't have a choice. We it's known as the I forgot the name of it. However, it's the reward system. So in the book by Charles Duhigg, known as The Power of Habit, incredible book. You have to pick it up. You have the trigger, you have the habit, and then you have the reward. The trigger is a new email. The habit is to look at your phone, and the reward is the ding, the buzz, the feeling that it's exciting. Why is Vegas? Why is Atlantic City? Why do they have bright lights? There's no clocks. They pump in oxygen. It's cold. It's all to bet more money. You win a little bit, a rush of dopamine goes through your body. It's the same thing when you wake up and you see new emails. We're addicted to that, to those notifications. We're addicted to the sounds, the buzz, it's funny. I was recently on a dating app, and when you match with someone, it's like this whole like 2 second animation thing. And I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like, this. It's even in dating apps. Like they give you this rush of dopamine. Yay, I got connected to someone, and it's like this whole big stars and bright lights and whatever that come across your screen, and it says, do you want to talk to them or do you want to keep on looking for other people? It's the same thing in real estate. Is that when we wake up and we don't take control of our day, our cell phone and other people will do it for you. And that's why there's 80% of the agents that make the exact same amount of money within 1 to 2% every single year. They make 150,000 or 200,000 and they're completely fine with it. And like I said before, I'm fine if they're fine. But as human beings, we are creators. We love more. We want to grow. And, as people way smarter than me has said, if you're not growing, you're dying. And it's true. You can't stay the same. There's no staying the same. You have the internet. Things are moving way too fast. There's way too many agents. There's way too much competition in this industry for you to stay the same. And if you're staying the same, I'm taking your business. I'm the one that your clients call because I'm the one that's actually producing content or making the calls or staying in touch or giving them value or anything else. And just a little bit on value. And I know I'm all over the place. So on the Greg Harrelson podcast, which I obviously recommend, like I mentioned before, is what his guest says something very, very interesting. And they said it's not the future of real estate is not about, and I'll have a whole podcast about this. The future of real estate is not about um, it's not about data. It's not about numbers. It's not about listing information. That because we're overwhelmed already with that. Like we already know what the home sold for, what every competition, the neighbor upstairs, downstairs in New York City, or your neighbor to the right and left of you if you're outside of New York City in an actual neighborhood or an actual houses instead of apartments. If you if you give just data, you're going to lose. You have to give value. You have to give interpretation of the data. You have to say, like, excellent example. Like I was saying before, my friend called me. Normally, I would say compounding year over year, it would be smart to buy this year and then sell in 3 years and then take that money and roll it into. But my interpretation, because I'm a professional and so are you, is to take the data of 7 years of growth. The market is starting to slow a little bit and say, listen, something is going to happen. You don't want to be caught with your pants down. That's a fact. The rates are going up. It's getting a little more expensive to actually borrow. That's the interpretation. If you think that you're going to survive in this industry by just giving, we have the most data in the industry. First of all, I don't even think that's true. And number two is they don't even care because they don't want you to tell about data. All that data is on Realtor, Trulia, Zillow in New York City. It's Street Easy. It's all over the place. They can look it up. It's not a big deal. We have to give expertise. We have to give growing, getting better, listening to podcasts like this. That's how we improve. That's how we get better. Is every day 1% better. Like I said before, your routine, if you do tomorrow what you did today, you're going to get tomorrow what you got today. You have to get a little percent better. You have to just, you like Michael Phelps, just beat your time tomorrow by 1 second. That's it. And then you obviously go down. Once you start getting around the same time, then you go to a mill of a second. And that's the thing, is that when you start getting really, really good, you'll start noticing body language. Then you'll start noticing within body language tonality or facial expressions, or how are their arms crossed, and that will give you that will trigger you to dial in your personality, to bring it up, to bring it down, blah, blah, blah. But that means you're becoming a master at your craft, which is real estate. So we have to get better, not at the data, but ourselves, and interpreting it, how to negotiate better, how to market better, how to find new avenues to get your listing, get your information out there. So number one is wake up early. Number two is your phone is on airplane mode. Number three is you don't snooze your alarm. Number three is if you have a problem with one of those first two, which is having it on airplane mode or snoozing your alarm, you have to do things like put your phone away from your bed. Once you get out of bed, there's so many things you could do. Do you meditate? Do you read? Do you pray? Do you go to the gym? Do you coffee? Do you go right into the shower? What time are you waking up? Things like that. Like for me, I'm waking up roughly 5:15 to 5:45, depending on the day, because I go to gym classes. And then I have a whole morning routine that takes about 45 minutes, blah, blah, blah. And then I go to the gym. That's the thing, is that there has to be a time within the day, preferably in the morning, that you have to get your heart rate up. You have to get the blood flowing. We're in real estate. We need enthusiasm and energy. That's what we do. We sell things that people can. We have to think about it this way: a buyer and a seller can easily find each other online. They can easily do that. Why is a broker necessary? Why? This is where you have to figure out one thing. Why did stockbrokers, why did that business collapse? Why did Blockbuster go out of business? Barnes and Noble. Think of that. Amazon came in, they went directly to the consumer. Netflix came in, they went directly to the consumer. E-Trade and all those other places, Vanguard, but you can buy online without a stockbroker. Why? Travel agent, you can just go to Expedia. Why are travel agencies? Yes, they're still around, but in the future, it's already happening that only the best will survive. Only the experts will survive in real estate. And you need to start now. Otherwise, you're going to be wiped out. Listen, if you see the future technology, I get pitched all the time. I got pitched by, I think it was a UK business who's starting in America. And they have this whole thing where you put on goggles or these glasses, VR, AR. AR is augmented reality, VR, obviously virtual reality. But you put on these glasses and they have this specialized camera that literally records. It's doing a walkthrough, but it's the 360 walkthrough of the home. I got to tell you, I didn't try it, but they had this demo thing online. It was like it was amazing. You can control the speed you're going through the house. You can control looking up, looking down, zooming in, blah, blah, blah. The only thing you didn't do was like open cabinetry and the refrigerator and the dishwasher. But to be honest, like you didn't even need to visit the home. Like if it was an investment home and everything else checked out and you trust the agent that's on site, it was way better than pictures, way better than property tours, way better than floor plans. You got a feeling of the width, the depth, the length, how furniture could fit. That's the future. Okay, that's not data. That's not what did the home sell for. It's the interpretation on how to market. So only the best will survive. Okay, so you have to get your entire. Once you get to the office, do not do passive. Do not do things that need your attention. Things that need your attention is this person called and they need blah, blah, blah. Listen, say to all of your clients, the reason that I am successful, the reason that I am so good at what I do is because from 9 to 10, that's when I prospect. That's when I get my business. That's when I talk to people. Because if I didn't do it between 9 and 10, not only will I not be in the business, but I'll not be able to answer your question in the future. You're a lifetime customer. I want to value that, blah, blah, blah. They have to respect that because even in their own job, they have quote unquote meetings. I can't just call them when they're in a meeting and expect them to answer their call. But make this your meeting time. Make 9 to 10 your meeting time. Make 9 to 12 your meeting time. But if you're just starting out and you haven't made sales calls or referral calls or sphere of influence, SOI, sphere of influence calls, you have to start small. You just one call a day, one call a day for a week, then two calls a day for a week, three calls a day for a week. There's an excellent book out there that talks about the six phases of growth, 6 phases of habit creation. So if you want to stop drinking, stop smoking, get out of bed, start eating correctly, whatever the case is, there's 6 phases. And if you go too fast and you start too early in the actual action of stopping to smoke or whatever, you will fail. If you go too aggressively in, that's the thing is that and then you think it's wrong with you. The problem is it's not wrong with you. It's just you started way too early in the process. If you go out and say, I'm going to make 50 phone calls on Monday, you're not going to make any phone calls on Tuesday because 50 phone calls, you don't have this stretch. That's like the guy that walked down to the light post and then he expected the following weekend to run a marathon. Like his actual ability to do that is nowhere near the goal. All right. So your morning, you have to create. Okay. Wake up early. Don't snooze. Phone on airplane. Don't check email. Don't check social media. Go to the gym. Be at work by 8:30 minimum. 8:15 preferably. One of the things that I heard recently. I don't know if it was an agent or a businessman, but he said, I know it was Elon Musk. Elon Musk broke it down. He's obviously Tesla, SpaceX, and Solar City, the founder and CEO and chairman and blah, blah, blah. So he said something very, very interesting. So he said that he works and he gave the amount of hours that he worked. I think he said 80 to 100 hours. And he said, if I work 80 to 100 hours, I actually get as much done in the first 4 months than someone who worked half the time would get done all year. And I'm like, wow, because most people work 40-hour weeks. So if you work 80 hours or 100 hours, and listen, this is completely up to you. I don't know your finance, I don't know your lifestyle and but it's something if you get there at 8:15, that extra 45 minutes is where you crush the day. 8:15 is when you crush the day. 8:30 max is when that half an hour is how much is that? Over 5 days? That's 2.5 extra hours. Think about that you're getting for free because you came into work early. That's the way to think about it. It's not to think about, oh, I have to wake up a half an hour early. It's like, no, whatever the hell you do in the morning, just get it done earlier, get it done faster. Because once you get to work, you need to prepare the list that you are going to call that day. You have to prepare the day, prepare your schedule. There has to be, this is the best way to do it because we have something called willpower, and willpower decreases by the end of the day. So if you, and listen, if you haven't read The One Thing by Gary Keller, do yourself a favor and pick it up. Don't even shut this podcast off. Pick it up right after this, read it. It is an amazing book. I have a book review on my personal channel. But we have to do the proactive things in the morning because by the end of the day, our willpower is so drained. That's why we need to drink coffee or we have that quote unquote sugar intake at 2 p.m. It's like be proactive in the morning so you could be reactive in the afternoon. It's not the other way around. If you're reactive to other people's BS in your life, there's no way you could be proactive because you have no willpower. You don't have the energy like you do in the morning. You don't have the clear mind that you do when you first get to the office when no one's around because everyone else is getting there at 9, 9:30, 10 o'clock, just average people, they're part of the 80%. And I obviously know the people that are listening to this, they're part of the top 10%, just getting a little bit better. So wake up early. When you first get to the office, get your list that you're going to be calling for that day. for sale by owners. If you're calling, and obviously, I don't know what marketplace you're in. However, what you do have to know is you have to know not only your script, but it has to be consistent. It cannot just be Monday and then you pick up the phone on Thursday and then the following Tuesday and then the following Friday. It doesn't compound that way. There's no way. Maybe you'll pick one or two people up, homes or buyers. There's no way that could be consistent. You have to consistently do the right things. So subscribe to the podcast. I'm going to leave it there. I don't know how long I've been talking. However, it is definitely it's one of those things that you have to put a system in place because you already have one in place. And that's it. You have to do, as Gary Vaynerchuk, you have to do some self-awareness. What time do I wake up? What do I do when I first wake up? Do I snooze my alarm? Do I talk to my spouse? Do I have coffee? Do I go to the gym? Do I check social media and email and da da da? Am I reactive, in other words, or am I actually proactive in creating the day that I want? And then I layer that, just like Darren Hardy said in The Compound Effect or The Slight Edge by Mike Olson, Jeff Olson, I'm sorry, Mike Olson, I don't know, one of those Olson people, but not related to the twins, is you compound Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and maybe even Saturday, and then you compound that another week, another week, another week. Stick to it because you're part of the top 10%. Stick to that for 3 months, just 3 months. Try it out, 3 months. I will tell you, you will see remarkable results. This is the key, though. This is the key. And it's kind of an affirmation that I say is when I start succeeding, I step on the gas. When I start succeeding, I step on the gas because the reason being, this is very, very critical, is that when people start seeing success, they stop doing what got them the success. They see the business coming in, they see the commission checks, they see the closings, they start taking buyers around, and they stop being proactive in the morning. It has to be consistent every single day. Get business, then you are reactive to that business or reaching out or answering emails or phone calls or text messages or whatever. Your reactive appointments. You know, I cannot stress that enough because that's where the ebbs and flows in the real estate business is the ebbs and flows of thinking that once you get the business, it's self-sustaining. No, 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 no. When you get the business, you have to keep on doing what you did to get the business. So have an awesome day. This is on SoundCloud, YouTube, and iTunes. So whichever one you prefer or whichever one you listen to. I don't know if it's on Google Play. I hope so. Subscribe to that. Let me know what you want to talk about. I didn't even talk about anything that I wanted to talk about. So I guess I'll get to that next week. Have an awesome day. Talk to you guys soon.